Dearborn County Council order July 11, 2024, please join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, council, everybody got a copy of their minutes and a copy of AC's report. Any questions on any of it? Or any amendments, changes, anything? If not, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Isaac. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go around the room.
Yes.
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 Okay, you're over there by yourself today? Okay, treasurer's report. Any questions for Melinda on the treasurer's report?
I'm assuming that the one update on savings, that we're not getting the police reimbursement as of yet. That's still on the act of that.
They have until August the 31st
Okay.
to complete everything.
There's just some other stuff that has to be done.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions on the treasurer's report? Okay. Bills for payment. I know Sharon had one question. Anyone else have any other questions on the bills?
I have others.
Oh, you have others? Okay.
Number 14.
14.
That's the water that we purchase from food processors to supply to the orchards development.
Okay, and number 29. Why was we over capacity?
We weren't over capacity. That was the sludge fee.
Sludge
The
fee.
first one
Oh, it
was the
was-
wastewater contract, the second one is the sludge fee. And Michelle just always leaves over capacity on there because in case we do, but
It was
it's
sludge,
fine.
okay.
Yeah, it's sludge, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Anyone else have any questions? Let's see, no questions. You all know what we need.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Thank you, Sharon. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Clarence. Around the room.
Yes.
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 Okay. Chief, we didn't have a police committee meeting, but you got anything to report today?
Yes, sure. Normally I send an email out. That didn't happen this month. I apologize, but I'll hit a couple things real quick that will be on that. First one is we have an accumulation of cars down at the impound lot that are vehicles that were either seized during felony drug cases or were brought in as evidence and people refused to come pick them up. 3 of those were called out to go to auction, so those are being liquidated. Also, I talked about taking care of some of the other surplus vehicles. So I know there were some questions about how many vehicles were down there and what was the situation with that. So 3 of those are being taken care of immediately. We'll have some other ones taken care of before too long. I brought up the Commonwealth of Virginia had some money allocated to help offset cost of taking care of mental health cases, temporary detention orders versus custody orders. We had, thankfully, we've not had a rash of those lately, but we did have one recently. Reimbursement was $420 some for the DCGS paid the town to make up for the officer's time sitting with the mental health case. So that money's available. We unfortunately haven't had to take much of it, but we are taking advantage of getting the reimbursement from the Commonwealth as we can. And Melinda got that money for that. So stealth stat. So complaints about traffic and speed in town have always been something that's kind of been around. It died off a lot during COVID, came back up a little bit. The mayor and I talked about one up on Forceville Road and another one. So stealth stat's a computer that we bought early on, first or second year that we were here. It cost somewhere under $2,000. Has a radar head in it and a traffic box that's basically a counter similar to what PDOT uses for traffic survey. It'll count the number of vehicles, whether they're approaching or receding, what the speed is, and will give us data on that. We shared some with the mayor. I'll try to share some with the rest of you. It warrants a little bit of explanation of what you're looking at when you see it. But we've deployed it on at least 3 sites now, and there's no indication of a significant speeding problem. It all fits within what the National Highway Traffic Safety calls the 85th percentile. I'll send you guys an explanation on that, get some data to you so you get a better understanding. We have the stuff that's currently on McCalling, and then we're gonna move it to some other places that we know are regular complaint areas like Low Pine. And we'll get some of those numbers to you guys, so you can see what it is. If you have any specific area, Don had a person that had a very specific complaint about a very specific address on North Main Street, and we put it there, and got data, so that, did you have a chance to talk to her yet?
Yes, it did. Yes, I did.
So Don had a specific complaint from a citizen / business, and we provide data so that he could address it since it was the complaint came in directly. So we're happy to do that for any of y'all that have a concern yourself, or you have a constituent that has a complaint. We're happy to do it, and if the indications show a specific speeding problem, it will also give us a time where that's most prevalent, so we can allocate extra control for that. So I like to do things that make sense instead of things that feel good. So using data to determine whether or not there's a problem and then addressing it at the right time is more useful than placating people by telling them something's not necessarily true.
And the data, it was surprising on all three. The data was very similar in all three areas.
Yes, sir.
The two places on Main Street and one going up the hill there. And really, truly what you would call ticketable, you know what I mean, where they can pass that mark and they're gonna get a ticket, period. It was only like 2%.
Yes.
So like 2 out of 100 are, but it's amazing how 25, like the bottom at the railroad tracks, doing 35 seems awful fast.
Yes.
But it's,
And the narrower the street, and the closer the houses are to the
Right.
street, there are other environmental factors that the National Highway Traffic Safety Organization talks about that are cause citizens stress with speed. Noise is another one. So we tend to target loud exhaust if it's obnoxiously loud, because the perception of loud exhaust gives people the perception of speed. At the end of the day, we don't have a traffic safety problem because we don't have any traffic crashes. Almost every traffic crash that we have is intersection related. And so it's confusion typically on the part of the driver, or the driver thinks they have a light, or they're trying to beat a light, or that kind of thing. We almost never have a speed-related crash in town. It's virtually never have them. However, if people have concerns about speed, then it's a legitimate concern if it is a concern to them. So we want to address it, but we also want to do it logically.
right, right.
So, the last thing I have is there's an organization called Triad, which has been around off and on for years. The goal of Triad is crime reduction, specifically in the senior population. It was fairly prominent in Rockingham County. They had a pretty big footprint, and we're getting a lot of information out, doing some events, and then that kind of, like a lot of things, COVID kind of took the wind out of the sails. The current Attorney General is making a big push to bring that back. So the charter for the Rockingham County Harrisonburg Triad has been brought back and renewed, and they've got funds back up and running, and they've had a pretty decent event at the Sim Center in Harrisonburg. Is kind of their inaugural bringing things back. Talking about doing one here at the community center in Timberville. We need to talk to them about availability and that kind of thing. But that's something that as it starts to get more of a foothold, I'll try to work with Cecilia, make sure that information is getting out. But the goal is to get information about fraud and things like that out to seniors. It's also a good avenue to get other things like information about hospice and in-home care that maybe you can get if you're a legitimate source, so you're less likely to be defrauded by somebody that's doing it, out of the back of their car and things like that. So the idea is to reduce crime in the senior population, but it's a little more broad than just avoiding credit card fraud or something like that. So I'll provide more information, but it's getting good traction, it's getting good response, and they have a good attendance both from the seniors attending as well as the seniors at the last. That's good. That's all we got.
And one more thing on that system. If I remember right, it's also time-based too, that you can look and see you have a problem between these hours of this time of day. So that.
Yeah, so it records the date in 5-minute blocks. So you can go back and say, hey, there's a rash of speeding that occurs, at rush hour when people are leaving work at this business.
So you guys can know to go there in the afternoon instead of sitting there in the morning kind of deal. which helps out a lot.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's very interesting. If y'all have a chance to sit down with the chief or Jeremy, Jeremy's been doing, I think.
I ran all that stuff originally, but since we got a new battery and we're running this new series, so it's been running all that.
But it's a neat system.
I'm happy to sit down and go to data, but close ones for me.
You can break it down in all kinds of different ways. Well, thank you, chief.
Yes, sir.
I guess you got something on Public Works, I'm sure.
Yeah, always. So, great progress being made on the Spar Mountain Waterline project. They are all the way from Timbercrest. They started on the west end of that project. They're all the way from Timbercrest all the way up to the creek. We do now have a signed easement in hand, which is positive.
To be recorded tomorrow.
Clinton's going to record that tomorrow. They were making some connections. They pressure tested the line, and they did the bacteria tests that they have to do. They sent those off. We're waiting as long as those come back negative, then that line will be ready to be put into service. And they can continue. They'll start with the creek crossing, which, you know, as much as we need rain, it's probably going to make the creek crossing extremely easy to do with as low as the water is right now. But that project is, the contractor actually got started a week early. So they've been on it and done great. Haven't hit much rock so far, which is really good. And yeah, exactly. Talked to VDOT today, had a question for them about the Macaulay Drive sidewalk project, and found out that it is out to bid right now. So they gave me a link for anybody that's in contractors that might call in. That's how it got spurred to contact them to start with. So they are moving on with that project. As I mentioned in the memo, the sale of the property at 157 North Main Street is scheduled for Wednesday, July 24th at noon on the courthouse steps in Harrisonburg. I don't know all the details. Quentin's the expert on this. If anybody, I don't know if it goes, you know, do you want to give the brief of
Sure.
how things work?
Sure. It's a foreclosure sale. It's a judicial foreclosure sale, so we had to get court approval. So, I'm the trustee effectively. I'm the special commissioner as appointed by the court, as the trustee of the deed trust. So we'll be the one to conduct the sale, and we'll sell it to the highest bidder. Based on how a lot of my recent foreclosure sales have gone, I'm sure we'll have the usual suspects turn up and maybe some more. And the town has the opportunity to bid if they wanted to, but they don't have to. So most of the time, you know, especially when we do it for the county for tax sales and things like that, it just goes to whoever the highest bidder is. And the government very rarely bids, like a bank, if there was a deficient, you know, if there was a balance out of the bank, would have a credit bid, but the town doesn't really have a credit bid. We spent what we spent. So whatever, you know, the sale price is, we'll pay for any cost, we'll pay the taxes first to the county, and then there's like a priority we have to go. So there may be some deficiency because it's of the site, you know, it doesn't go for the full amount, and then we would have the opportunity, if we wanted to go after the individual for the deficiency balance and try and get a judgment against them.
So there probably will be a deficiency.
Yes, there probably will be.
So you're not just adding a lot, you can go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's no reserve or anything set on anything like this.
No.
Okay.
Unless the town wanted to like make an initial bid of, you know, for $25,000, we'll buy it, you know what I mean, as a credit bid to discount our own judgment, and then we'd rather have it than have this huge deficiency we're not gonna be able to collect on. Because our suit is only against the title owner, which is that LLC or corporation that made Mission Rummage. So the likelihood of collecting is very, very, very low.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Sent out also in the memo about the proposed amendments to the land development regulations, and council doesn't have, well, let me note one thing. One of the things that was not included on that list that we didn't bring up at the last planning commission meeting was, we had talked about it in previous planning commission meetings, was about potentially removing private streets from townhome developments. So that, because there's that caveat in there, and it had to do with a potential development the potential developer was looking at making it a private street so they wouldn't have to build it, do all of the right of way. And the planning commission they weren't too fond of that idea. And so that was one of the things that was tossed out, was maybe removing that private street opportunity from the land development regulations.
They weren't fond of the idea of removing private
No,
streets?
of having private
Oh,
streets, yeah,
okay.
they wanted everything to be VDOT standard, so it could be accepted in the VDOT system. Otherwise, you get into the homeowners association or property owners association has to maintain the street and all of that. And a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's less costly for the developer on the outset to do private streets, but then they just dump it on the homeowners, and then when it comes time, if they haven't increased their assessments throughout time, then they have to do a special assessment for people that live there, hate it. I've dealt with it multiple times. It's, I think you're better off, especially with an eye of the growth within the town, to keep it to VDOT standards, would be my legal advice.
So if council wants, we'll add that one to that list. And then if you have any questions about the others, or if you're good with the other recommendations or need explanation on them, but that's what we would advertise for next month's meeting for a public hearing.
Okay. Anyone have
I
questions on
think you
that?
should go ahead and add it. Make a motion that we add that they have to be VDOT approved streets, not private.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Robert?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay.
We'll add that one then, and are you all good with the other ones that are listed there?
I see no questions, so I assume we'll do it
Then we'll go ahead.
by
and-
default.
We'll advertise for all of those for next month's, for public hearing for next month then.
Okay.
So we were planning to have a joint meeting on the night of the planning commission meeting, but after speaking with the potential developers, there was the one property that I don't remember if I explained both of them or not, but anyway, they would prefer to push it back a little bit because they'd like to come into a meeting with the council and the planning commission with more solid conceptual plans in place, so that, put a little bit of work into it. So we're actually looking at maybe doing that before the council meeting next month.
Just earlier in the day?
Yeah,
Okay.
we could start it. We did this before with somebody, and we started at 6, I think, and it ended at a good time and worked out well that way. So I'm not sure if it has to be, I'll get with Quentin on that as far as whether it has to be an open meeting or not, when you're dealing with someone who hasn't disclosed an intent to do anything. I know businesses are that way, but I don't know about if this, maybe it is considered a business when you're developing, the business of development. But I'll get with Quentin on that so we can kind of determine that before that time gets here and see if we can, you don't want somebody to come in and talk on something about public and mess up their interest and have somebody else jump in and snatch something out from under them. So I'll get with Quentin on that, and we'll figure out how that works.
But that will still be discussed at the planning commission meeting, correct? I mean, we can discuss.
Well, what we'll do, what my plan was instead of having council go to the planning commission meeting, we'll have planning commission come to the council meeting that night to discuss it there. So that we have both entities that
But
are at the
next
same time.
week at the planning
Do
commission
they need to
meeting, you'll
discuss it
bring
next
this
week?
up.
Is it?
Well, if they want to,
Okay.
or we could just, instead of having a meeting, because I don't think we have anything else for a meeting next week that I can think of, we could just move everything to
Okay.
that night before the
Whatever.
council meeting. But we could discuss it then if we have that meeting.
Okay.
So. And the final thing, they sent out in the memo that if you all could, anybody that's interested in attending the VML conference, if you could please email me or text me as soon as possible so we can get registrations done and coordinate all that, please. And I think that's all that I have for Public Works.
We're on business industry, all right. Oh, I guess on Public Works, what about the bathrooms over there? The sewer line was ran.
Sewer line's done. I think Chris said that they were finishing up the electric, I think is what they were waiting on. roofing has been ordered. The colors were picked out for that and for the interior, right, Melinda?
Yeah.
And what it was.
Yeah.
So, the contractor has that information to be able to get all that
For the
stuff.
petitions and stuff like that.
For the petitions, right, exactly. Mhm.
Okay. Hopefully we get it done in time for one of these celebrations.
Yeah, we'll push them to, I know the contractor's wife was on with that, at the last event.
Okay.
So we have that working for us too.
How many concerts do we have?
We have 2 more, yep.
Maybe we can get it to, I'm not August, we're not gonna have tomorrow, but maybe August we can have like, talk to the contractor's wife, I'd say.
Right, exactly. The contractor's wife's father's in the too.
Oh,
so-
okay. That's even better.
Yeah, so we, if anybody have any questions, other questions on Public Works? Business and industry, no new information on Mr. Garcia's restaurant as far as an opening date on that. We have been told that there's going to be a slight change to the Dollar Tree. I don't know if there'll be changes to signage or anything like that, but it's going to be called, it's going to be a Dollar Tree Plus. Is that what they were saying? Which means that they will be offering items that are priced up to $7, what I read online anyway. And it's going to make them a little bit more competitive with Walmart and Pop Shelf to deal with. I think the article that I was reading anyway said that Dollar Tree stores are finding that they are having households with an income of $125,000 a lot more shopping in their stores. So they're just trying to get more offering to a wider, a more diverse population of consumers.
Okay.
And that's what I have on business and industry.
Keep on moving. Parks and Rec.
So, the only thing I have on Parks and Rec, we already talked about the bathroom. The second event in our summer music concert series will be held tomorrow night, Friday, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the American Legion Park. Music, like last time, will begin at 7 and will be performed by Two for Tuesday, who specializes in music from the 1990s. And food will be available for purchase from Something About Her Lemonade. And the reviews that I've seen online about the food is that it's very good and that the lemonade is spectacular. I think there may be an actual chance of rain tomorrow, thank goodness. But the temperatures are going to be cooler, so it's supposed to be much more moderate temperatures, which would make a very good evening for a concert. So tell all your family and friends to come out, and especially if they remember 90s music. And
The rain would be the perfect reason to have a concert.
exactly.
But it
It happened
looks,
last time. So.
it looks like it's not as likely a chance anymore, but
Yeah,
hopefully,
it was not very much rain that they were calling for.
hopefully it rains a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all I have for today.
Now, as far as finance, you're planning next, is it next council meeting you want to have a budget amendment?
Right, Melinda and I are going to be working on that to get that put together, get that out and advertised, to have the public hearing for the budget amendment, to incorporate our ARPA projects, what we've spent this year, and make it accurate, incorporate our ARPA projects for the 23-24 fiscal year into the budget, just so that there is an accurate budget that can be presented. When people look back, 20 years from now, they can see exactly what we did.
And the way the project's going, we might be able to finish up all the ARPA money this next budget year and be done with it.
It would be-
Not have to do any budget amendments anymore.
And I did talk to, we have the one allocation of the ARPA funding for the addition to the Public Works building. And then going rounds and rounds trying to figure out how to use our PPEA ordinance so that we could do it that way. And I actually found something else today, and was trying to understand it through the Virginia Code. And when Carl, our engineer, stopped by, he has experience with, I talked to an acquaintance who works for a contractor, or for one of the larger contractors around, and he was talking about doing requests for qualifications, an RFQ. And that's the way that the city is doing things now, and it helps kind of streamline the process. It weeds out a lot of people who might not be qualified to take on the project. And then you kind of take off from there. And Carl, our engineer, said he has some really good experience with that. And I'm sure, I haven't talked to Quentin about it yet, but I'm sure Quentin probably has experience with everything that he deals with on that same type of thing. So we're going to try to get that see if we can get something done with the Public Works building, doing the expansion on that, so.
And this, now you want to talk about personnel, consideration, short-term disability coverage, you got more information on that yet?
The only thing that we can try to provide a little bit more explanation if everything wasn't clear enough in the memo. What we would ask for tonight is that council would approve up to that, well, do you have that? I'll see if it's written somewhere. If you could read off what the two figures are for the long and short-term disability.
For short-term disability, it's $34.86 a month
And that's for all employees, that would cover all
for 14
employees.
employees. And for long-term, it's $102.42, and that's for the 4 hybrid employees a month.
So our request would be the council would approve that to go up to that amount, to implement that coverage, which is something that we are required to do. We do have some other questions, but it wouldn't be anything that would bump it up above those limits. You know, if we would get somebody else to give us a quote, which Melinda's tried to get other quotes, one said we didn't have enough employees that they would actually cover it, and the other one never responded. The one that we actually originally tried to get under back in 2014, the council elected to go with. So that would be our request, is to approve up to that amount for that coverage.
And we'll have to work out. It's low enough, we won't have to amend the budget or anything like that. It's still going to be
It's $137.28 a month.
for all of them, not on the hybrid, so.
What's that?
Only 4 of them get the 102.
That's total for both of them.
We're only talking about doing the long term for the hybrids.
Right,
Which is only 4 of them, so it's 34 for 10 people,
for 14 people.
for 14, and then 4 people get the 134.
No, you get the 102.42. It's total, both of
But
those.
that's the total, that's not per person.
Oh,
It's-
So that monthly
Yes.
cost is,
Yeah.
the 14 people covered for,
$34?
because it's an administrative fee on the short-term
It's-
disability,
it's a
yeah.
self- It's a self-insurance plan.
No,
Yeah,
I'm adding it all up, coming $5,000 or $6,000, and it's
Yeah.
30, well,
It's
yeah.
$137.
You can approve that.
we could, but I think it may come back where it would take council action to do it too, because it took council action previously to do it, so. Yeah, no, it's not per person, that's,
I think my electric bill this month is more than that. At home. Okay, anybody have, do you need council action,
yeah, we'll need them to approve that, up to that amount.
okay, so Sarah, say something along that line.
I make a motion to approve the
Short-term disability
short-term disability
And long-term.
and long-term disability.
and long-term disability changes.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay,
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, go around the room.
Yes.
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 Good job, Sam. Okay, yeah. I was adding up, and then $34. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Plains District World Museum. Sharon, what you got for us?
The only thing I have is, well, I'll have more next month, but in September, we will have Heritage Days, and it's going to be done a little bit different this year. It's going to be more of an open house type thing instead of selling, having food and all that. Okay, but I'll have more next month.
Okay. There you are. You got something for us?
A little bit, I guess.
You look like you really,
Well, the
really
heat's
showing me something
getting
today.
in
Yeah, I used to hear the old folks talk about the 1936 flood. I was reading the diaries the other day, and I found some little notes about that. Wednesday, March 18th, 1936. The river was 2 feet 5 inches higher than in May 1924. It was higher yesterday than any time since 1906 or 1907 or 1910. In 1896, it was probably higher than yesterday. But I've heard people talk about the 36 flood, but we found out a little bit about it. Now, this is the next day, March 19th. we're continuing cleaning up at the mutual cold storage. Few train cars are being loaded today because of no electricity to run the elevator. The lines were broken by the river below Timberville. The water mains across the river were broken also. The water company is putting in 2-inch pipe across the bridge temporarily. So that flood must have tore up things,
Wow.
but I don't remember.
You were a little young then?
Yeah. Charlie Gibson had a crew working on the streets in 1934. Leroy Holsinger was paid $3 for a day and a half work. John Walker was paid $4 for 2 days. And Harry Good, 3 days for $6. So then, the town was paying $2 per day.
Wow.
Now,
We need more of that.
July 1950, over 1,000 people attended the fourth annual Urban Horse Show held at Memorial Park in Timberville. Most of the years they held it over American Legion, but a couple of the years they had it in here in the park, and I don't know why. July 26, 1928, a new fire alarm had been installed on the roof of the post office building in Timberville. June 1949, Mr. Braxton Corner of Lynchburg purchased the Timberville drugstore, and then it was not more than a year or two later he became mayor. He was mayor in the early 1950s. I do remember that. Saturday, February 3rd, 1923, the moving picture Deception was shown at the Columbia Theater in Timberville. And that's all I've got.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, council, does anyone have other business to bring forward at this time?
The only thing I want to say is today is Melinda's 8-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
That's with the town.
Yeah.
That's how long she's been working.
We knew what you meant.
Only 20 or so more years left.
Yeah, 21.
21 years left.
21 years left.
Unfortunately, it'll come quicker than you think it will.
Some
Okay.
said less than a year.
Hey, you.
Okay, now we're down to public comment. If anyone wants to make a comment, you know the rules. Come on up, introduce yourself, and ask what you need to ask. Hey.
Clay Sellers, and I'm with the Timberville All School Reunion. I think you all got a memo, maybe an email or something about that. And I'm here this evening to ask for money for the Timberville All School Reunion. We have, we've been having these since 1983, and I think Timberville, I'm not sure if you've donated, we haven't buy it annually, so every time we have them, we do come and ask the council for money. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. We use the money, basically, we like to keep the cost as low as we can, at least $25 for the meal. And for some people, that's kind of hard to do. But, so the donations we do get, we use for that. And most of the cost is we raise money for, but we do need, from time to time, we need some extra help. So you've so generously given to us before, and we're hoping that you would do again this year. So, and I'm sorry, I'm not a resident of Timberville. I am an outskirts of Timberville, but.
We won't let that again.
Okay, and I think, do y'all have anything to say?
Say something.
Help. We have a lot of people coming in from all over, and but as I talked to AC before, and I mentioned about maybe people might go out and eat. Now, people hang around for a couple of days. They might go out and eat, but you know there'll be bad days. But one main thing, we have all kinds of people that come for the reunion. They stop in the museum. And I always make a point to be down there to talk to them before we start the reunion. So, and I haven't got any figures, but probably the postage itself is probably $600 or $700.
How many people attend this?
I think the time before life, I think it's almost 200.
200 people?
Yeah, and then last time they were saying it was almost 200 again, but I think it's really 145.
But actually, and we send out over 1,000 invitations, so.
Okay.
That's what the postage adds up.
And a lot of the, Randy Anderson over here is a graduate of Timberville. So there's a lot of Timberville people that are still in the town.
Doug Hartline.
Doug Hartline is,
So he
yeah,
stepped up and has offered to help this year.
Yeah.
You know, let me go back a minute. Betty Miller Driver. from
Is a Timberville,
was Timberville, has hung with us all these years. She does the database, keeps the addresses, the deaths and everything, and updates everything for us. And Bev and I have hung in there for all these years too, helping with what we can.
Feel like I
As-
didn't have-
They call us consultants. But this is one town, that has a young committee now taking care of the reunion. And it's Jamie Ritchie Turner, Barbara E. Scott Good, Virginia Benny, Terry Spitzer now has stepped up and he's going to MC it this year. Most towns have stopped this. Most schools don't have these anymore because the population, it's just an older generation. Yeah, 92 year. How old is?
we have 101.
101, so the oldest.
Yeah,
The
the
oldest
oldest.
right now will be there. But I'm just
And
proud of
her
her.
mind is better than mine, so really, she's good.
But we are using the school this year, the
Yes,
elementary school,
yes.
and there's a cost there because we have to pay the janitors and we have to pay for the kitchen help. I'm not sure exactly how much it's going to be, but set up and take down and things like that. But Bev and I are of the generation that we shouldn't have to be doing this, but we're glad we have the young ones picking it up for us.
Thanks a lot.
All right, speak for yourself. You were in my big brother's class in school, so,
When was the last year at school?
The last year it was there, Bev probably knows
You
that.
mean when the elementary,
On the hill?
the planes opened in 1972.
got quite a history.
Yes.
I talked to a lot of people over the years, and some of the people from Broadway, they said they wish they had been doing that, having a reunion up there all those years. And, but yeah, we're still trying to keep it going, so.
Keep going, yeah.
Okay.
So thank you all very much for listening, and
No problem.
we would appreciate any donation. Thank you.
Council? Sounds like a worthy call.
Just was gonna ask you.
250?
Was it 250?
I think is what it was
Oh, was
last,
it up- it was
yeah.
like 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah, because
Yes.
the town did it 2 years ago, and then before that, it was quite a while.
Yeah, I don't
It
think
was
we
like,
had
back- it went
requests
way
for
back
a
to
while.
2008 or something like that.
I think it was 250.
So we have our donations line in our budget. And we have one category put in there for miscellaneous donations. There's $100 left in that line. But all the other items in that line are already, they're two specific things, so,
$100 left in the line
for donations.
for next year's budget?
New fiscal
This
year.
New fiscal year now.
Do we have-
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
We're in a new fiscal
When
year.
did the baseball, when does that
I
one?
think that's in the spring.
Okay, we talked about potentially doing, maybe not doing that one next year, so.
Or maybe we could do a lesser amount.
Or you could do a lesser amount too, yeah. So, yeah, so you would actually have, being that the fiscal year just started, you'd have $500 in that
Yes.
other donations, and miscellaneous donations line.
That you could donate with staying within budget, up to that, say. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we, out of that line, we've been for how many years now, making donations. It probably started back in the mid-2000s, of making donations to Broadway Bruins to sponsor a game. But that's kind of, this obviously is directly Timberville related.
I think they have different tiers of you don't have to
Sponsorship.
sponsor, yeah, the sponsorship for the games, if you also want to do something.
I'd be more inclined to donate to this than the other one if I had a choice, honestly.
Well, and what that money goes for, so everyone gets into the ball game free.
Correct.
Okay, you got up to $500. What's council want to make a motion on?
What was the other thing you were talking about
Or we-
in the spring?
That's the Bruins.
The Bruins, oh, okay. I want to make sure I had it.
That donation to the Bruins, it would always come out of that miscellaneous
Okay.
account.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much was the donation to the Bruins?
Last year was 400.
So we could probably cut that a little bit. maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, you can, whatever you want to do, yeah.
I'd make a motion to cut their donation out of the Bruins and keep our miscellaneous open.
So, okay, we haven't been asked that other one yet, so you don't have to make a motion on that until it comes up and you decide not to do it or not do it. So you got a motion of how much you want to give to the reunion?
How much do y'all need? There's one
You
donation.
never asked that.
Magically $500.
If the dinner gets done and everybody walks out and they're like, oh, we all get $5 for showing up here, you know, there don't need to be anything left.
I was asked by a prospective donor the other day, how much do you really want? And I didn't know how to answer him. And someone told me, said, you should have said, $3,000 to $5,000 will be fine.
Well, I mean, I'm not making the motion yet, but because I said this last year, my issue with it is giving money for a reunion that our taxpayers is paying for people coming from out of the area. That is because then if Broadway High School comes to us every year and says, will you support our reunion? Where do you draw the line?
Well, simply because this is Timberville, and that's Broadway, which I know a lot of people, you know, from Timberville went to Broadway.
Right.
But the Timberville reunion was residents of Timberville.
Right.
And there's still a lot of those residents that have remained here and opened businesses here. Like I say, Randy Andis, Neil Summers is another one. Bev Garber is a Timberville alumni. So,
But now Randy and Neil didn't graduate from Timberville.
Well,
no,
But they went there, I understand that.
This is not necessarily for graduates.
No, it's for
all.
everybody that went to
But
Timberville.
as far as drawing the line, you draw a line when the $500 is gone.
Well, and that's true.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if there's none to be given, there's none to be given.
And I truly think that this is, you know, it's a commemoration of a school that once was, whereas Broadway still is. So I feel like I'm more inclined to make a donation to something that is unique about Timberville. And, you know, then, I mean, I have no issue with Broadway, but I mean, that's still an active,
Well, it's not active if the people have already graduated from there.
But I know what
But
you
how often
But you know
how
what I'm
often are we
saying,
approached by alumni from Broadway to find a reunion?
But I'm saying, because I was approached about that a couple of years ago, when they said, why is Timberville paying, you know, for a reunion?
Because it's a reunion of a
But-
school that served Timberville residents, and it is located here in Timberville.
Now, I don't have an issue with it.
Okay, well then
you
that,
know.
you know, if someone asks, then that's
But-
the answer, you know?
there are over 1,000 people that we send these invitations to even now. And they were all at one time residents of Timberville. I hear what you're saying, Sharon.
I mean, you understand,
I
yeah.
understand. And there was a motion made 2 years ago, that's when we had the last one, 2022. And the motion was made by Carl to donate $500. And it was changed, and after your all's discussion, you gave us 200. So, you know.
Well, I make a motion that we give 200 then.
Okay, we have a motion to give 200. Do I?
No, how about 250?
How about the 500 that we could
Well, but then we won't have anything in our budget
Well, we
for
have-
other
Okay, a
donations.
motion for 250. Do we have a second?
Sure, second.
Okay, any further discussion? We'll go around the room.
Yes.
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 Okay. Any other public comment? Oh.
Just real quick, I just want to say thank you to any and all who organized the music. That was awesome, and I won't get to go there tomorrow night, but it was really good. And it was well receptive. And I just want to say that in other areas that I've gone, someone from the committee or the higher ups or whatever always goes to the front before the band starts and says, "Thanks for coming, welcome to Timberville, we appreciate you coming." That's all you gotta say.
You're gonna make me do that kind of stuff?
Yes.
You don't come into, you aren't in the parade every year, so.
It's only 20 years what I've had to do. Okay.
But you're bringing people from other communities.
I'll make AC do it.
They're spending their money, their hard-earned money in our community.
I'll make AC do it.
She was disappointed because she mentioned it that night.
They don't feel welcome.
Maybe I'll just come over and say hi to you. But you won't be there.
I won't be there.
Yeah. Any further public comment? Yes.
Thank you for the donation.
You're welcome. Meeting adjourned.